Okay, what's up? I just want to make a quick video real about this article that I saw online. The title says, though the headline says, this couple kept their relationship a secret for 3 years because of their 35-year age difference. So, as you can see here, you have a young black chick uh, b- booed up with a white dude who obviously is significantly older than her. There's a lot of gray in this dude's face and head. And as you can see, she's still in the relative prime of her existence. Um, so, for a little bit of background to get you up to what's going on here, this young lady by the name of Cheyenne Baker and the the guy's name is James Hines. Um, they met on a dating app. Um, they've been seeing each other for 5 years. She's 22. He is now 58. And they kept the relationship a secret for the first 3 years because they were worried about how their families and friends and society in general will react, which is understandable. But the significant thing here is this: they met 5 years ago and started seeing each other 5 years ago when she was all of 17 years of age, and he was in his early 50s. He was about 53 to be exact. So right off the bat, you're sitting there thinking, well, what was this young lady doing at the age of 17 on a dating app, and she wasn't even of age yet? 17. She probably figured that she was going to be 18 pretty soon, and you know how young ladies are. They think they're grown from the time they're about 5 or 6 years old. So my guess is that she probably thought, oh well, I'm going to be 18 pretty soon anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and create this account. And that's what she did. She went to this dating site, logged on, created an account, created a profile, uploaded some pictures, and boom, she got approached by this guy, and they got to talking, and I think the article says 7 months later they decided to try to see each other, and they've been together ever since. Now they did claim to have some bumps along the way um, during the first 3 years, as they kind of flip flopped as to whether or not the relationship would work, and which is understandable because what that says to me is that she probably had doubts about whether or not she could be accepted by not just her family and society in general, but by her peers. You know, young ladies oftentimes are shaped. Their decisions are shaped by what their peers will think of them. You know, um, now somehow this girl was able to work over her fears and decided that she and this guy can make a go of it. But I'm sure that had to be a big sticking point in their decision to see each other for good. So, so 3 years into it, they decided to tell their folks and their friends and stuff like that, and I guess it's working out for them. So, and here you see at the top it says here, Cheyenne was first attracted to James' dorkiness, and James was intrigued by her great wit, ability to hold great conversation, and petite frame. Um, Side note, he said petite frame, her, not muffin top, things like that. I always tell women, no matter what age you are, keep your waistline in check. Keep your waistline in check. Stay in shape. It's good for you. You know, it'd be far easier to meet a dude when your waistline is in check than when your waistline is not in check. Keep that in mind. Okay. End of side note. But I'm looking at this, and it says that she was attracted to his dorkiness, and he attracted to those things about her. And as you see here, I guess they're into the cosplay stuff. Um, they wearing these Star Trek costumes. He's Captain Kirk. She's Lieutenant Uhura. So that's their thing. They're into that whole Trekkie stuff. So I guess she's a dork too, you know. So, good for them. It seems like it's working out. Um, it's obviously something that neither one of these two expected, but uh, there you have it. Merry Christmas, right there. Happy holidays for both of them. So, just gonna go down here. Um, Here it says James. James says, when we told our closest family members, there was a huge sense of relief, because we expected the worst, and it went better than expected. And and I can understand that. Here you are, this situation, this guy clearly older than this girl, and she's worried about what her family and friends will think. He's he's got to deal with the stigma of being a dirty old man and all that kind of stuff. So it's understandable that they wouldn't just jump into this thing without really having thought it through. But they're making it work. Um, there they are at the beach with her, we're getting our natural hair thing on. Um, uh, and then here it says, most people don't say anything in public out of politeness, maybe. When people who aren't just random strangers first meet us, they either comment on the interracial aspect or the generational aspect. It's never really both. And I'm going to touch on that real quick. The interracial aspect is probably the least of their troubles, I would think. Um, there's so many, yeah, there's so many people right now making brown babies, making tan babies, making beige babies. I think that race relations are far more better than we think they are. And then as for the generational aspect, generational aspect, the age gap component to this, that's where it's really tricky for them. That was the elephant in the room, because our culture teaches us that a man should not be going after a woman this much younger than him. Our culture demonizes uh, what I think is the male prerogative to go after uh, a woman who has the best chance of passing on his genes. You know, the younger, the prettier women, they're going to get picked. They're going to get picked by men of their age, and as well as men but much older than them. So that's what's going on here. And some people just can't handle that. They just can't. And as far as a young lady, I mean, we're looking at a girl who was 17 years old when she met this dude. And yet, our culture would have you believe that a 17-year-old is still a child, especially if she's a girl. That even in spite of the fact that her body is fully developed, some more developed than others, but her body is developed with the capacity to carry and bring life into the world. Yet they want you to think that a 17-year-old girl is nothing but a mere child. And biologically, that's just not true. I mean, if you can look this up online, it's scientifically been shown that the best time for the female body to give birth, carry a child and give birth, is between the ages of 14 and about 17 or 18. If you don't believe me, look it up. Look it up. Those are the prime years for a woman to give birth to children. Okay? But that's biology speaking. That's nature speaking. But we want to jump in and take that away and say, hey, she's still a child. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's unaware. But yet, here we have this young lady, 17 years of age, and she got on a dating website, created a profile, uploaded some pictures, and then put herself out there on the market. And she ends up with this guy, so there they are again, and I think this is going to become more and more common as we go along into the next decade, because a lot of girls her age, 17, 18, what other options do they have? The other options they have are guys their age, guys who are walking around with their pants hanging off their ass, who don't like to do nothing but smoke, walk around and smoke and party and smoke and pop pills and smoke and and confused, don't know what they want to do, and smoke and play video games and smoke and do everything except for what they're supposed to do. You know, I'm telling you, some of these young ladies, they may not have all their stuff together either, but you know, most of the time women are mature at a faster pace than younger men. So you're gonna see these women passing these young guys up more and more, and they're not gonna tolerate trying to wait on these guys to grow up. They're gonna go out, do their thing, get their education, get their um, post grad education, and some of these women are moving on to PhD, getting their PhDs without even stopping, you know. And then they're not gonna look for some guy that, they may deal with a guy that's got his pants hanging off his ass for a while, trying to show his Gucci waistband and all that. But after a while, they're gonna get tired of that. And then once they get their papers, they're gonna look for something a little bit more stable. And stability oftentimes is found in an older gentleman. You know, I mean, you look at this guy, you can tell he's been through some shit. You know, he says that he was a U.S. Marine veteran, a Purple Heart recipient. Yeah, he's been wounded. You know, he probably done killed some people, man. Yeah. Oh, that's his. Oh, look at that. That's his. Look at that. That's his picture from his military days in the Marines Corps. Yeah, he didn't kill somebody. I can tell. Look at that. Yeah, this dude done shot somebody. This dude wounded. This dude wounded some people. Yep. Look at that face. Undeniable. He done seen some stuff. He done did some stuff. Mm-hmm. Without a doubt. An older man has so much to show and give to a younger woman. Not just material and financial resources, but experience and wisdom and just so much that he can give her. A woman is looking for guidance all the time, half the time, most of the time. She's looking for somebody to show her something, somebody that can teach her something. And that's going to be found more often than not than a guy that's several years older than her. So as we look at this thing, I think this is going to be a continuing trend. I think we're going to see more and more May, December relationships like this. Maybe not 35 years apart like this one, but 10 years, 15-year gaps probably be more common than we think. And the thing about it is, it's already more common than we think, I read somewhere that 1% of all marriages feature a 20-plus year gap, with the husband being older. So, and 1% may not seem that much, but we got to be thinking, how many of those relationships where there's a 20-year gap that don't end up in marriage? There's a lot of short-term relationships where there's a significant age gap. They may run for 2-3 years that doesn't end up in marriage, and where the people involved might end up going back to dating people closer to their own age. So I'm sure those numbers are not taken into account. So you got to be thinking stuff like this is far more common than we think. So at the end of the day, I think that we'll see more of this kind of thing. But I just wanted to point this out because I thought this was so interesting. The media wants us to believe that you got all these older men just snatching these girls off the street and manipulating them and coercing them and grooming them. Like one of the comments that I saw in the article where somebody says, this old white man, he got online and he was grooming her and he brainwashed her and they should throw his ass in jail. Da, 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 da. Yeah, and I'm just like, nah, no. That had nothing to do with it at all. Not at all. This young lady at the age of 17 had the wherewithal to get online, go to a dating site, and create a profile, upload some pictures, and put herself out there on the market, knowing full well what she was doing. And then she ended up with this guy. And 5 years later, they're still together. And according to the article, they're discussing the possibility of having children. So we have to keep an eye on these folks and see how it turns out. But I just wanted to point that out. You know, it's very ironic in these times where men seem to be just vilified for even looking at a younger woman, and women who will look the way of an older man are deemed as just being manipulated and coerced victims. And clearly, we can see with these two, there's nothing like that going on here. But that's the sign of the times that we're living in. And when you put out documentaries about sexual deviants doing things with younger women, it can create a stigma in people's minds and think that things like this is unacceptable. But as you can see, these two people are in love, and I think they're gonna. I think things are gonna work out for them in the foreseeable future. So, good luck to them. Hope it works out. Anyway, that's it. Y'all be cool.